Hey everybody, and welcome back to more RHEM 3. At the end of the last video, we stumbled across this 4-story building. I'm just going to call it the 4-story building because a lot of people seem to call it that, and at least one walkthrough I've found references it that way, and I'm just going to spoil you on something really big here. It's the only 4-story building in this game. Shocking, yes. But the main thing that we noticed here and took away from this whole thing, because we were only able to explore this little bit here on this side across 2 different floors, is that there's a ladder that can be lowered into a bridge, which can really help us get from one side to another or up to other floors, which we may want to do here in the future. But I know you guys are all dying to know where this mysterious hole leads to. Okay, so it's not really that mysterious, but I had to end the last video on a cliffhanger, right? Well, from here we can see something else. We can see another hole that leads down into another ladder. In fact, we can just go up there and just look at it from upstairs. Right there. And this ladder is currently in the up position. There's also another hole down this way. We can see that from down here. And there's a button here that doesn't work, but I think it's kind of obvious why. See the symbol here that shows a ladder being lowered down? Well, the wire goes right to the spot where we lower the bridge. So, of course, it won't really lower anymore because it's already in the lowered position. So, since this seems to be a one-way thing, it's going to give us the sorry noise until it's raised. So at least we have a way to control it one way from down here. But we can't really do anything with that right now. It would be cool to raise it and access it from here, since this seems to be the point at which you can meet up with it. But that's going to have to happen later. For now though, let's go check out what's over here. We got a manhole cover. And we've reached the part of the game that I'm probably going to have a very difficult time explaining. So I'm probably going to sound really scatterbrained tonight because I'm going to be juggling around a lot of navigation that I'm going to have to do and a lot of explanation, which we've already established I'm pretty bad at. So yeah, just bear with me here. I'm sorry in advance for any weird confusion that I'm probably going to cause. Now, this room that we're in right now, this large stone room, I'm going to call it the South Stone Room. We're currently facing north right now, but I'm calling it the south one because there's another one that we're going to encounter here in just a little while. But before we do that, we've got a door here that has some tally marks on it. I don't think someone's been imprisoned here and has been counting how many days he's been here or whatever. This probably is some kind of code. We've got a 3x2 grid, and these spots have numbers associated with them, 4, 1, and 3. Well, let's go the obvious route and just check out where this staircase leads. Well, wherever it is, it's not exactly a very good roofing job. We found another tree that gave us a short song. Leaf D, alright. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of that game Sim Park. Did anyone play that as the kids? You know, like you had to study all those different leaves and the patterns on them. And then there would be that frog that would help you out. I forgot what his name was, but he would be all like, "Yo, buddy!" And, you know, if you ever need some help with something, and then you'd get like emails, you know, because you were the park ranger and people would email you and there would be all these environmentalists complaining, and then there'd be like kids who would email you and be like, "Hey, my name is Rocky, and I throw things on the ground and litter. Ha!" You know, stuff like that. I don't know, I thought it was the funniest game ever. Anyway, we got a control panel, or some kind of panel here, that also doesn't work. But there's something interesting to note here. The wire that leads to it goes into this room that we can access via this ladder in the room we were just in. And there's another wire that goes down somewhere. So we're going to have to remember that. Let's check out that room now. There's a diagram here that shows a platform or something, and it's floating on water right now. And then it's shown down when there's no water, and shown back in the up position when there's no water as well. Interesting. Well, let's look at this here. We've found the other set of tally marks, 2, 6, and 5. And ooh, what have we got here? Key C. Well, I'll say this. Key C looks suspiciously like that slot where we can put something inside in the 4-story building. So we're going to have to go back and test that out. Well, right after I play with this septagon and hexagon. Looks like this thing's supposed to open, but I can't open it right now. But this is the thing that leads out to that panel outside. And once again, we can see that this wire goes down. So it seems like the starting point for this thing is down there, and then it goes up here, through this, and then into the panel. Ah, a lovely day in RHEM. This bridge is over some not-so-troubled waters. Okay, yeah, that was a terrible joke. I'm sorry, I should be shot for that. But notice that there's multiple levels to this thing. And notice that it's over water. And we just saw something over here in this room that showed something with multiple levels over water. Also, there's another wire that goes across this big gap into a window or something over there. But for now, let's check out the bridge. We've got a button here that's affiliated with this green wire. The button does not work. There's also a panel here on the ground that covers another panel. Panelception! Bwom! And a gear that's missing from this gear formation. Okay, I'm trying too hard with the jokes tonight, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to keep this interesting, you know? I'm just trying not to be boring. Because we're going to be doing lots of walking around. So right now, there's going to be two things that we're going to need to tackle. We're going to need to check out what we can do with key C. But there's one more thing. Remember, we had to open up this hatch in order to get through this ladder, or get out of the hole. But if we close it, we can uncover another hole. It kind of reminds me of Riven in that door that closes another pathway. Well, from here we can see two golden wires leading into a room over there, as well as a panel with 6 septagons on it. Does this have something to do with the septagons up top? I don't know, but probably. Or the septagon in the office spot there. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, let's go back to the 4-story building and check out what key C does. And discover the truth behind, you know, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. So I have to wonder something. What exactly, I mean, I know I've asked this before, but I have to say it again. What exactly is the function of all this? Like, the practical function of it? Because this whole thing is, you know, a puzzle that's here to be a puzzle. I mean, did the Remians require their citizens to solve puzzles? I mean, did the Remian rulers subject everyone, their subjects, to these puzzles to prove their worth? And if they didn't, they'd die or get some sort of horrible punishment? Well, I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know that we just raised the bridge up, which is great. So let's go ahead and go back upstairs. Because although we couldn't climb the bridge from the first floor, we can actually do it from here because there's a hole that we can fit through. Sadly, the same can't be said for the 4th floor because we can't really access anything more from this spot. So if we're going to get to the 4th floor, we're probably going to have to do it from the outside through the east manhole from down there. Well, this is interesting. We can see the gap that we were looking at from down below, but from this vantage point, we can see that the gap is covered on the 4th floor, and it's connected, or at least so it would seem, to this wire that's hooked up to this control panel. Well, it can't go up any further, but it can certainly go down, which is good news. And that goes to yet another ladder on this side. And from here, we can see what we were looking at earlier from the other side. Now, it makes sense. Remember, we saw this manhole from way over there. So now we can see all three ladders from left to right. I gotta hand it to whoever did the decorating in here. I like these stones. Now, what we're looking at here might look rather familiar to you. Do you recognize it? It's what we saw in that picture that was right near the back of that elevator that we used to get down to this area. Well, not the one that we used directly to get down to this area, but the one that led to the drawbridge and, you know, all that stuff. The room with the lights that came on when you went into it, all that. You know what I'm talking about. And we get a really interesting looking cave with some huts. Which kind of reminds me of RHEM 2 all of a sudden. We can see another pathway over there. This is a really nice color palette, but we don't really know the code. But, hey, these look familiar, right? These look like the things that were on the back of that painting and on the back of the elevator. So as long as we can get colors associated with the code, then we might be able to do this. And this reveals that there are two sets of these things, which makes sense because we saw two sets of symbols. I'm guessing we're probably going to have to input the correct symbols and then this door will actually open up. But we're not even close to solving that right now, so we're just going to have to remember that this is here and come back to it later. For now, though, there's actually one more thing that we can do in the 4-story building that we haven't tried yet. Remember, there was a gap on the 2nd floor, not just on the 3rd floor. So if we can lower that platform down even more, that would be great. Alright, it works. That's good. Now, I can't go down any further, remember, because floor 1 doesn't have a gap. Instead, it has that locked door that we were looking at earlier. Okay, now this lowers the bridge, but I actually don't want to do that right now. I'm actually just going to keep it like this. But it's good to know that we can access it from down here when it's lowered. And here's that locked door, which is now unlocked. So that's cool. But there's actually one more thing that we can explore on the 2nd floor. I passed by it earlier. It's this door. And hey, this looks rather familiar. Well, let's put our knowledge to use. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, it didn't do anything with that, so maybe it does something with this button. Well, I guess I should have seen that because there's a wire that goes right over here. Duh. Okay, so by pressing this, we open a door down on this level. Now, this is really important. Notice something here. There are 3 levels to the bridge. 2 of these levels, at least, can be approached only from the south side, which is this side. Because right now, we are currently facing east. So this is the south side. This was the south stone room that we were in. Or, this was, rather. Because we went up to the office. The office with the little chalkboard thing and all that was on this floor. We were able to get out onto here. This is where we were earlier on the bridge. This, the door we just opened up here, we haven't seen anything on here yet. this door was the one that had the first set of tally marks on it. So now that it's open, I'm kind of curious to see what's behind there. Oh wait, we need to climb back down this way, don't we? Don't worry, I'm going to check out what's over there on the other side later, but for now I want to check out everything associated with the bridge. This video is all about that bridge, so I'm not going to worry about anything else. I'm just going to worry about the bridge and the reservoir. That's all this video is going to be about. So I'm trying to compartmentalize. Alright, sure enough, it's open now, so that's good news. Alright, I know that looks really tempting over there, but let's take a look at what we've got here. We've got a little panel here, but that doesn't work. Interestingly enough, though, it's connected to a golden wire, and we've seen those golden wires floating around here down below. Excuse me. Yay, a button that finally works. What do you know? There's a switch here that seems to divert power or something to one of three locations. A purple wire, a gray wire, and a green wire. Now, we've seen where the green wire leads, so I'm actually just going to leave it in the right position for now. Let's go back upstairs to the office. Let's check out what's behind this. It's another one of those puzzle piece-like key things. Fragment right. I do appreciate that in this game they're giving us key things that are actually specific shapes that we know where to use them. They're not just, you know, random keys that look like real-world keys, and we don't really know what lock they go into. I mean, that really does help. We can see a gray wire leading into this. I'm going to go ahead and put it here for our next thing. There's another combination lock sort of thing here, but we don't know what it is. So, I'm not going to even bother. Now, remember earlier I said that was the south stone room over there? Well, this room is why. This room is the one I'm going to call the north stone room. So let's go ahead and head down here. We can see the reservoir in here all filled up with water. So there's really not much of a view. Sadly, we can't really open this door and flood the whole area. That would be kind of fun. I'd like to see the animation for that, but I guess we can't. And this is the thing that tells us that there's water outside. It kind of reminds me of the boiler from Riven. Remember that little temperature indicator that indicated that it was hot and it was all red and stuff? Okay, we just turned some stuff on. Let's kind of take some inventory here. This thing is hooked up to at least one of these golden wire things. In fact, maybe these two things are connected in some way. This one is connected to a gray wire that goes up. Now, it's not immediately obvious, but this is something that we've been wondering about. Remember the wire we saw going down that connected to that control, or I keep saying control, but that panel that had the purple button on it by where the tree was? Well, this is what powers up that other panel that's by the south stone room, or in the south stone room rather, or not in the south stone room, but in the office above the south stone room. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, one of these golden wires leads to this button, which drains the reservoir. Now that's good news for us, because remember, the diagram we saw in the office showed us that when the reservoir is drained, the position of the bridge changes, and it's no longer floating, it goes down. Which is good news for us, because we can now access this gray wire area from down here. And we get half of a code, 6 digits. There are some hexagons that are in place of the missing numbers, though. And over here we get half another code. Now this is really important to note. Very important. And this actually threw me off because both of these halves deal with the same numbers, because we just saw this number, this number, and this number, but we saw hexagons in these spots. These are septagons. These are two different combinations that we're dealing with here. So let's just make note of that. Alright. So right now, I am going to go and refill this reservoir up. And yes, that, I think, no, the door did close automatically. I think if it was open, it would close shut. Alright. For now, though, I want to focus on getting to the top level of the bridge, because we haven't actually seen that yet. So to do that, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and set this to the only thing that we haven't really opened up yet, which is the purple wire. So let's see what I need to do now. Oh yeah, that's right. Up here, we open this thing up. There we go. Okay, so now we're able to power the button that's turns the panel thing on. So now let's go back down and look at that. Okay, good news. We got the other half of the hexagon combination. Great, that is good news. So that's one combination down. We just need the other half of the septagon combination. Alright, so the other thing that we need to follow up on after we did those little buttons that turn the green lights on is this over here. So remember, we did something that had to do with these two golden things here. But we still can't open this. Well, one of those golden things, if you were paying attention, you might recall that it was connected to this. And something moved. So let's go back down to where the wires were and check it out. Aha. Well, the septagon thing moved. I guess this is the panel that had the other side with the half the combination on it. But we get an instant access reservoir drain here. Now, why is this important? Well, because now we can actually access the top part of the reservoir when it's down. Now, the reason why that I didn't keep the reservoir drained earlier was because we couldn't cross over from this side. Notice that, this is now blocked. We couldn't have gone across the bridge when it was down from that side earlier. So, using this button, we're able to do that from here and go back up here and access the top level when it's in the down position. And we get the other half of the septagon combination. Sweet. Well, this button doesn't work, but it is connected to a panel here, and we seem to have half of this already. So we just need one more piece of this. Alright, so now we got both combinations. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to that side and enter one of the combinations into the north stone room. So let's go ahead and refill the reservoir again. And make it so. Yeah, I hope this is not confusing. I know this whole bridge lowering raising thing is kind of a little weird, but you kind of get used to it after a while. Now, we don't really know what combination goes in here, but I do know that it's the septagon one, so I'm going to go ahead and just take care of that. I shouldn't have been too overeager with this one, because I had to go all the way around the horn again there. Alright, we put the two clues together. And voila, we get a gear. Well, that ought to be useful. Because we needed a gear. Up here. Whoops. In this spot. And it reveals this button here. Okay, now it's not immediately obvious what this did, but I'm just going to go ahead and explain it here because this is important to note. What we basically did, we've engaged a lock that will keep the bridge up here even when we drain the reservoir, and that's what the third position on the diagram is all about. Now, why is this important? Well, because if we were to go down and drain the reservoir from the reservoir area, we can see what's under the bridge, because when we lowered it, the bottom part of the bridge was down there. But now, we don't have to worry about anything being down there. So let's cross here. Let's go across. And let's drain it again from this side. Alright, we're almost done with this, I promise. Alright, well we've got ourselves the other fragment. And there's a grill here that we can use to go down into this ladder. But I'm going to not do that right now, because remember, we're trying to solve this bridge thing. We're trying to do everything relating to the bridge, and we still have yet to go up there. So, let's go ahead and fill this up with water again. And hopefully, now that we've got the other fragment, we can actually get across the top part. Oh wait, I need to actually lower it again. Let's go ahead and make sure the lock is disengaged so we can make that happen. Whoops. There we go. Alrighty, now we should be good, right? Yes, here we are. And now... boom, alright, we can get through. So, the only other combination we can enter is the hexagon one. So let's go ahead and do that. We got 4, 9, 2... 8, 3, and then 2. Ooh, what is this thing? Hey, hey, hey. We got ourselves green crystal 4. Alright, well we've accomplished all we need to do here. So in the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and redo the bridge configuration so we can get back down under it and explore what's under that grill. But, like I said, we're going to do that next time because we've taken up an enormous amount of time doing this whole bridge puzzle and the reservoir stuff. So, that is going to be on the flip side for you guys. I will see you then. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. I hope it's been fun, even though I kind of just stumbled over myself the entire time. But, you know, I'm just keeping it real, that's all. I'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody, and I'll talk to you then.